30 seconds to countdown. Standing by for an answer. Picture's looking good. Sound is good. Stand by for the countdown.
Copy 5-5.
5, 4, 3. Seconds to countdown. Standing by for an answer. Picture's looking good. Sound is good. Stand by for the countdown.
Copy 5-5.
5. Seconds to countdown.
Morning, everyone. Sebastian in Final Control again. I'm sorry, I don't know what is going on with our broadcast equipment this morning. I can't get the picture live with the right sound. Just give me a minute, please. I'm working on it. It seems like things have been moved around, so it's a bit of a mess. I don't know what happened. And just give me a minute, and I'll be live with the picture and the sound. Thank you.
Seconds to countdown. Standing by for an answer. Picture's looking good. Sound is good. Stand by for the countdown.
Copy 5-5.
5, 4, 3.
Sure. What did you do?
Press visual index.
All right. Good morning. Morning, everyone. And welcome to Djuma Game Reserve this morning. My name is Mark, and we've had a little bit of a problem with getting one of our programs to work properly, just to bring you our sound. Evidently something was looping, the sound of our original leader. This is an overcast, cloudy, well, that's overcast. It's an overcast, windy, a little bit cold day, a strong wind coming in from the south. I think this is the weather that the insects were predicting, the termites, the ants, some of that I've had great tree frogs moving around, we've had toads calling. I've felt difference in pressure in my ears. We had a very warm day yesterday, the temperature spiked yesterday, and this kind of cold front normally comes after that kind of weather change. So I think there might be a chance for some moisture. It's very humid, but we'll talk about that on drive. I want to introduce somebody to you. Seb is in Final Control, as you know, but Becky has never really been here in front of camera. Come to the microphone.
Hello.
I'll leave it to you, Becky.
Okay, cheers, Mark. I just wanted to show my face. I'm not usually the one that's sat behind the camera. Say hello to all my viewers, and especially my dad who's watching this morning. It's his birthday, so happy birthday, Dad, and looking forward to seeing you out here in September. Yeah, so I hope you guys have all been enjoying the drives. and my camera work, and I'm looking forward to catching up with you all on Facebook. Cheers for now. Bye.
Okay, some of you were asking to see Becky. Took Dad's birthday to bring her in front of camera. Happy birthday, Mr. Hart. Alright, let's go see what we can find at the dam. Number of things to talk about. One of them, look at this, it's almost yellowish light. Gosh, it's quite strange light. It's not that cold. I'm overdressed. I've got far too many layers on. Got up this morning and I was a bit cold and thought it was going to be a bit icy out here, but it's not, because we're going into spring, so it's just overcast with a little bit of a cold wind. Termites, there were termites flying last night of all times. Just quite unusual, which shows that there has to have been a considerable increase in the humidity. So I'm expecting to see things like even odd millipede might creep out of its hole in the daylight today. Normally we'd need wind first, rain first. Oh, look, the spike thorn's got flowers. I'm wearing a different hat today. Another thing to tell you, look, here's some flowers. They haven't opened yet. It's going to be really pretty and really sweet smelling when these flowers do open. This is one of the spike thorns, a common spike thorn. It's nice here, we're sheltered from the wind. Okay, shall we? What I was going to mention yesterday, I saw some irises. Believe it or not, there are some irises in camp, actually outside Jess and Nikki's house. And the flowers were open, and I only know, well, I know of a very, something that I've noticed, that when iris flowers open, there's going to be moisture in the air. And that's another thing that told me that we were getting a weather change. The most exciting thing I can tell you about this morning is that I was brushing my teeth in my bathroom. And as you know, some of you know, my bathroom is open. It's got low walls, just about head height. And one of the walls I put shade cloth on. Sorry, just listening. Graham saying 3 adults at the hyena den. No cubs.
I'm getting yourself going. Listen, Simon, are you going to stay with those adults for a bit? Yeah, they're not sleeping here at the den, so they're not going anywhere. The chances that Yama from Medley for last.
Yes, so that's what I was about to say. Don't know if any of you heard that. I got to bed. Forget about what happened when I woke up, but going to bed last night, lying in bed, I heard the hyena going crazy. Those of you who might have been on Djuma Waterhole Cam, I'd say maybe around about 9 o'clock, 9:30 our time. Might have been 10 o'clock. Can't remember. I just know I'd been faffing around quite a bit, so it was getting quite late, and I decided to go to bed. And then I heard the hyena going crazy. And, well, it was quite a shocking noise, because I'm sure there was a noise that sounded like Karula also making a bit of a noise. Just want to go and fetch something for you. So Karula had a kill stolen. That was quite clearly at least three hyena. And evidently Graham's saying they've got that kill at the den. So if there's any question about whether hyenas take food back to the den, and I've always seen hyenas taking things back to the den. We were talking about it yesterday with Seb. They do. Some places they might not. Here they do. Interesting toy that I've got on the dashboard. But I'm not interrupting my story. I'll get back to what I've got on the dashboard in a minute. This morning I was brushing my teeth and I heard it, what sounded like a Dacre alarming and rushing past my bathroom. And I stuck my head out my door and I saw Shavinzi and her brother. Well, first I saw her and she stopped and she looked at me. And I was talking to her. She just sat there looking at me, and the next minute brother came out of the grasses and pounced on her. So also, one other thing that I was talking about the other day is I haven't seen, and in fact a few people were asking, we haven't seen that much interaction with the cubs, between, the two of them together. So that kind of puts that theory to rest. They do play, they do spend time together. We might see them often not being together, we might see them sitting apart from each other, but I saw them playing this morning. It's amazing, before I even took the vehicle out on off charge, I'd seen two leopards. Of course we can't go there, unfortunately, the vehicle can't get in there. So, where did Karula go after she lost her kill? That is the question. There's Franklin shouting all over the place. Yeah, our hyena tracks must have been when they came in. I think we'll go across the dam, we'll just wander around. It's one of those windy grey days where animals are going to be in shelter in the drainage lines. Heron is sitting on the Stichosaurus. Something's here in the drainage line because the Franklin's shouting, go away bird shouting. Heron's either on the hippo or the Stichosaurus. Okay, hello Nancy. Just to clarify what things about last night. Was there, I don't know about rumors, but there were some questions as to why we had to leave the sighting of Karula and the kill. Right, let's move along. I'm going to go back on, wait, and we'll go up to Central Road. Well, Eugene is assistant manager at the lodge, and general manager Nikki is on leave at the moment. So Eugene is faced with having to make decisions, and according to, oh, there goes a greenbacked heron. Evidently, the owner of the lodge, Yuri, has requested that vehicles do not attend sightings in the lodge for safety reasons and because of the guests in the lodge. So we have to comply with the requests of the company. It's as simple as that. morning to Mary Jane in Florida. Very heavy and low cloud coming in from the southwest. Not really coming this way. We're going to be getting stuff more from the south and the southeast. Mary Jane in Florida is asking about young elephant. And they use their trunk from birth because it seems that baby elephants just have a floppy trunk on the end of their face. They do. It's almost like a rubber hose, Mary Jane. And it's a long process. It's not something that comes naturally. Trial and error. Especially things like drinking and taking mud and sand into the trunk. And perfecting the dexterity of their two little fingers at the end of their trunk. Something down here in this drainage line. Something like maybe a leopard. Only things that are going to move around in this way are going to be predators. There was some impala out on the open area. There was some water bucket just near camp. Ah, that's what it is. I don't know if that, there might have been a giant eagle owl. That's what all the fuss is about. A huge bird. All I saw was a very large wingspan, which is most likely one of the giant eagle owls that have been hanging around. So, this toy, very interesting toy. It's been dead for probably decades. Because at the base of the termite mound, am I getting rain? Just keep an eye on the lens of that camera. Giant African land snail known as Achatina, A-C-H-A-T-I-N-A, Achatina. The Achatina family of snails is worldwide. You get different species all over the globe. And some places it's illegal to have them. People keep them as pets, believe it or not. They can live for up to 20 years. This one was a pretty old snail. It's not one of the biggest. I've got fair sized hands. And I'd say I could have found one. It could be even an inch on both sides bigger. I've had snail shells that are as big as my hand. We're on Central Road, by the way. But this must have been in that termite mound that I picked it up at. It must have been inside that termite mound to overwinter one year. And maybe there was a drought, or maybe there was a drought for a couple of years. And it died. I don't think it was full grown. I say it could have been bigger than this. And over the years, it's actually filled up with sand. It feels as solid as a rock. And it'll eventually fossilize like this in a few thousand years' time. Now if that was a living snail, the head would be there and the tail would be about there. Well, that's how big the foot would be. It'll be beautiful big snails. And we'll be seeing them in the wet season. As soon as we get rains, we'll be seeing them. And I will put that back on the termite mound that I took it from. Next, please, fall from this. Shirley and Roger. Well, Shirley wishing husband Roger a happy birthday. This is Roger Search. I wonder. Me Sing? That's frightening. Could be disastrous. Happy birthday, Roger. Oh, hello, Dacre. Happy birthday to you. And anybody else's birthday it is. Birthday wishes. Hello, Marsha. Morning, Marsha. Marsha notices something about rhino. Let's go look for rhino. We can maybe find an example of what Marsha is talking about. Marsha is asking, she says it seems that rhinos and those ears are constantly turning to pick up sound all around them. And if you did that with your hand, if you cupped your hand to your ear and you turn it, you notice that you can actually get almost directional sound. So you must know that when you've got a big ear pinna like the rhinos, that sound that is magnified and rather amplified into the ear a lot more than we hear. Our hearing is rather pathetic, but if we were to hear more than we do hear, I think we would go mad from all the noise. I mean, there are, I think, just above our audible range, we get to certain high pitches and then it cuts off, and there is a cacophony of sound that is probably a lot higher than that. That if we were to hear it, it would, well, probably walk around with a permanent headache. We wouldn't be able to hear anything else. Our audible range is just in that right range that allows us to hear our environment, but also to be selective about what we're hearing. Not so difficult to pick up what we're hearing amongst the rest of the noise in the world, both infrasound and ultrasound. The Bateleur flying, Bateleur is having a whale of a time up there in this weather. Good, strong, steady wind. We're on Vulture's Nest Road. Other thing is that flies irritate their ears, oxpeckers irritate their ears, and often they flick their ears to get rid of insects and oxpeckers that are bugging them. Excuse the pun. Angie, hello. Have I figured out the feather from the other day? Well, Racer mentioned maybe it was a juvenile vulture, and there are vulture feathers that have a darker leading edge and a pale trailing edge. It had a very long shaft, and that did give some indication that it was maybe a juvenile something. Could have been a young vulture. But no, haven't figured it out. Haven't figured out the hairy caterpillar. Haven't figured out the flower. Kudu trace. Hello, Stacey. Morning. Stacey in Melbourne, isn't it? Yeah, I'm just thinking it's Melbourne, I think. But hello, Stacey. Some nice postcards you've made, and I my page about advertising the drives. Stacey's asking if we have a name for the little boy yet. Nah, we still don't know. He who has yet to be named. I'll talk to the guys today. Find out when the next Rangers meeting is. I was thinking of names. We want something that kind of reflects his associate or his connection to Shavinzi. So we want something else with an XI. And because he's a little shy and he's a bit of a wimp, I was thinking Shivambalana. It's very long though. Shivambalana is emerald spotted wood dove. He's like a little dove. He flies away every time we see him. Shivambalana. Where are we going to go now? Chelapan. Then we'll come back to Nyala Road South. We're going to look for rhino tracks. What have I got here? I have something on the road. It is Old Elephant Track. Not rhino. And a few too many things on top of it. Susan. Okay. Susan's asking a question about Karula last night. Just to remind you, or just for those of you, I believe in chat, not sure what was happening. Karula made a kill right in the camp. Right next to one of the rooms, in fact, room 5. Killed a female impala, and actually it wouldn't have been a very nice thing to see because all female impalas are pregnant at the moment. They're halfway, they're half term almost, beyond, about half term. And evidently she pulled the fetus out. But the lodge requested the vehicles to leave the sighting. Now, Susan was asking, was Karula upset at all by the vehicles? There was a moment when just before Seb left, one of the game drive vehicles was once again just blocking, just kind of not in a good place for her, and she snarled. See, that was the moment I think that Eugene was asking everybody to leave. There's been a herd of elephant here. She was snarling at one of the vehicles that was there. Again. Somehow always seems to think, just somehow always gets too close to her, threatens her, thinks it's a good idea for good photographs. Okay, let's get some more questions. Some really nice light. Hello, Jewel. Jewel, asking, the snail shell, is that a normal size for this area? Yeah, pretty much, about average. They do get bigger. Now, the one thing that you can tell, let's get to Chelapan and I'll show you. But one thing that you can tell with these snails, because they can only and will only come out after certain rains. It has to be moist for them to be around, otherwise they dry out relatively quickly, relatively easily. And obviously the times that they come out are times when there's a lot of vegetation. They are what we call detritivores, so they eat detritus. They'll eat rotting plant material, they'll eat even rotting animal matter, the remains of a kill. They will sort of some of the hard tissue that gets stuck on bones, they will chew off with their raspers. Here at Chelapan. So they're very, very short periods that they eat, and it's those periods that when they're eating that they're growing, and when they're growing they're depositing more calcium on their shell. And you can actually see, for example, here's a line. I hope this will come out for you. I hope you should be able to see this. Just listen. Okay, sorry, checking on radio. So you can see this line. There's a very distinct line running down the snout. Now, when it was young, that would have been the mouth over here. And there was actually a little place here where it looked like it had a slight injury, and it had to redeposit some calcium to fix that little injury. And between that line and the next year is a very, very big gap. There's the gap between this year and this year, which would have been a very good wet season. Now, if you had a snail shell a snail from this year, you could actually go back and excuse me, and see the drought years and the good years. This was a very wet year because there was a lot of calcium deposit. There was a lot of growth, although you can see by the different colors now it has faded over time, and when they're alive the colors are quite distinct, and the colors come from different vegetation that they eat. And there'll be a period, like a brown stripe will be a period where it's eating one thing that's tending to make its shell brown, and then there's another thing where it tends to be whiter, paler. Sometimes you get pinks, beige, brown, all different colors. The next year was a very, very small growth period. You can see the two lines between the two here. It's a very narrow band, so that would have been a drought year. It would have been a very, very poor rainfall year. There was also another injury there, and there seems to be a long period between, or how can I put it? There was growth that stopped and then it started again, and anyways, just an unusual amount of calcium deposited there. You can actually count the years in some cases and also see how the rainfall was. Now, I'm told that some local tribes use the snail shell. They crush it up and they put it into food as a calcium supplement. The snail itself can be eaten, but because of its diet and the possibility that it is feeding on toxic plant material, would require one to put the snail in, say, crushed maize for a couple of weeks so that it just flushes out the system. Personally, I don't know why people. Look at this light. See, it's got a bit of sunlight coming through. Look how beautiful that is. And there's dark cloud and bright sunshine. It makes everything glow. Now it's faded. We'll go up to Trias Dam, back down this way, Twin Dams. Hello Lee, nice to hear from you again. And referring to those buffalo bones I found the other day, excuse me, trying to get rid of that frog that climbed in last night. And Lee's asking, do hyenas only eat relatively fresh bones? No, not necessarily. You will find them chewing on really old bone like that, just as a calcium supplement as well. The thing is that they can digest bone, so they do get some value from it. But they wouldn't really eat it as a meal. They'd chew on it. Clean the teeth. Strengthen the jaw. Leanne in Florida. How far can I in the right way? There's another giraffe. 2 giraffes. They can smell, especially the stomach contents. You know, I can even smell a kill. There's zebra too. I can even smell a kill from a distance if the wind is blowing right and the stomach contents have been opened. Blood, they can smell blood at quite a distance, I believe. I couldn't tell you a number, I'm afraid. Yeah. But they don't necessarily hone in on only the smell. They will hone in on alarm calls. They will hone in on the sound of predators, other predators. They will be attracted by vultures, and they'd even watch a bateleur. If a bateleur were to be dropping out of the sky, they'd probably go and investigate and try and pick up the scent. If we can get a giraffe and zebra. Stop, please. I love it when you can get a shot of the giraffe and the zebra through their legs. You can go forward again. She's going to cross the road though to the other side where her sister is. No, she's feeding, so let's go forward. Whoops. Bree, hello Bree. Trying to get a view of this giraffe with the zebra. Another one on our left, but that might get it through here if I could just turn around. Interesting question from Bree. Not really a great view, is it? Bree is saying she thought wildebeest moved around in large herds, but here seems to be otherwise. I think Bree just wants an explanation. Why? Well, Bree, it's only in certain parts of Africa. And even there are areas in Kruger where you might get large herds of wildebeest, but you'll notice the habitat that we have here, this ecosystem, this terrain, is mostly bush, and it's just not the right type of habitat to be able to accommodate large herds that they have as a species. Now, wildebeest here need open grassland areas because they need the safety of the open areas at night. They are open plain grassland animals. But there aren't that many big open areas. And the open areas that we do have can only really accommodate small groups that, much like the zebra, will move into the thicker bush during the day They will graze amongst the trees and then back to the open areas at night. You can't move around in big groups when you're in this habitat. And that's why we don't get very large herds of anything. I'm seeing some more giraffe, another giraffe way beyond these zebras. So there's a fair group of giraffe here. We're only seeing 3 of them, but they spread out. They can obviously all see each other above the trees. Hello, Cheryl, Las Vegas. Let's see, where are we? Las Vegas must be pumping Friday night. Cheryl was asking about poachers. Do we have a problem? What happens if they get caught? Well, here in the Sabi Sand, in this part of Kruger, Cheryl, we don't have a problem. We're quite fortunate in that there's quite a tight network of roads, and apart from the fact that we're all driving these roads most of the day, 6 hours a day, means that we would pick up on something strange. Let me go forward again, because the giraffe, everybody's moving south. They might actually, we're fairly close to Treehouse Dam, but they're not really making their way towards the dam. There is a nice little more open area in front of us where they might be moving to. The zebra also coming closer to the road, so they might cross the road soon. While I'm answering questions, let's sit with giraffe and zebra. Becky can find you some of the nicer images from all of these children. It's a lovely group of zebra. Must be at least 2 or 3 family groups. We'll have to count the stallions. In the Greater Kruger, though, I mean, we are essentially part of the Greater Kruger National Park, and as such, you can't apply what I'm saying here to the rest of Kruger. This is only in this part of Kruger where the private reserve is. This reserve known as the Sabi Sand. Poaching is quite a problem in the rest of Kruger. At the moment, one of the most horrific and senseless things is happening, and it's the poaching of rhino. There's not much in the way of elephant poaching, but rhino are being slaughtered on an unprecedented and frightening scale. Quite recently, a poacher was caught and sentenced to 20 years in prison. It was one of the harshest sentences carried out. When you think about getting out early on good behavior, and every now and then they just release prisoners because they get too crowded, a poacher will probably be released before a murderer. Even if he's been killing rhino, I don't think it was a harsh enough sentence. Because there's no deterrent. If there are no consequences, then there's no deterrent. But maybe it's a start, it's a beginning. They have brought some of the rhino poaching under control by bringing in the military, and the police are trying to improve on things, patrols. But it's shocking. I read yesterday there was a shipment of ivory found in the hold of a ship in Zanzibar from elephants poached in East Africa, and still bad in East Africa. Tons and tons of ivory hidden amongst dried fish destined for the East. What makes it so much more difficult to control is third world countries have impossible governments. from a point of view of bribery and corruption, dictatorships, and where money means more than anything in the world. But here in the Sabi Sand, here at Djuma, we're fortunate. There might be a little bit of poaching on the edge of the reserve, what we call sustenance poaching. Someone catching a warthog or a duiker for food. Come on, zebra. They like to be with the giraffe because giraffe have got very good eyesight. They've got far better eyesight than any of the grazing animals. Giraffe are happy to have the zebra around because the zebra have all got their heads at ground level, and there are a lot more of them. Zebra can hear, smell and see the likes of predators moving around closer into the giraffe. So they complement each other. They don't compete for the same food source, but they're quite happy in each other's company. That's the stallion, one of the stallions here on the right hand side. Peggy wants to know, why am I going to put the shell on the termite mound? Someone going to use it? No, I don't know why. I just thought that's where it was. That's where it can go back to. I could just as easily just put it here in the bush. Nature needs the calcium, even if it's going to take 100 years to break down. The shells themselves have been used for I've used them as well as cups, or I used to water my bonsai with a shell because it would hold enough water for one plant for some of my smaller bonsai. Thank you, Dr. Rita. Did some research for us on rhino, saying that their ears are constantly swiveling for sound, and that they depend on their sense of smell a lot, that their olfactory senses are, or their olfactory passages are larger than the brain. Pretty much, that's what I know. But yes, their hearing is quite acute. When you're trying to creep up on rhino, you just the sound of you crunching a dry blade of grass, they'll pick it up. Maybe not as good in hearing as elephant. Hello, zebra. Watching the giraffe. Giraffe's watching the zebra. She's got a pretty pattern. Joanne in Long Island, New York. Joanne in heard the giraffe moving. Joanne wants to know if the cubs got to eat before the kill was taken by hyenas. I don't know if anybody knows that, Joanne. Nobody was with them. Maybe the lodge knows. I couldn't tell you. All I know is that I was glad to see the cubs this morning after that commotion that I heard last night. sorry. Jody in New Mexico. This is Los Alamos, Jody. Hello, Jody. Wants to know if you can see the striations on the snail when it is alive. On the snail shell or on the living snail, on the gastropod itself, on the foot, the muscle, the living snail. Which one do you mean? On the shell, yeah. Well, actually, it's both. You can see stripes on the shell, and you'll see also markings on the actual snail itself when it sticks its head out. Soon as the rains come, we'll find snails. Ah, there's a rhino track heading east. Okay, well, let's move on from zebra and giraffe for now. To a loop to Treehouse Dam and then back down to Twin Dams Road. Hyena tracks. Morning, Diane. Oh, Diane's saying she heard lion on Dam Cam last night. Any word on lion? I don't know. Let me find out, Diane. Morning, stations. Anyone picked up on Galam Kwanzo?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go on the western side of Karaman. But headed somewhere in the front. We're coming to any course coming around. So I was just going to go quickly to check that you're running out.
Okay, thanks, Tex. What's the update for this morning?
Usual, very quiet.
Okay, copy. And no word of Karula.
And everything we didn't have any last anything coming to the Yama, so we didn't have any last.
Copy, thanks. Kaya Manzi. Evidently, Diane is where they've got lion track. Are you calling me?
So negative, I was trying to call one of the support.
Kayamanzi. Where? I don't even know where Kayamanzi is. It's not on this map. I think it's up near Danhouse. It's up somewhere up on Buffalo. I need to find. There was another map we had once that had all the road names and places on Buffalo. This map isn't really that good. Places I've never been. But then again, you see, Diane, we haven't really covered much ground. I think the other vehicles have gone, well, vehicles have gone in different directions, for one thing. And there's probably a large area that hasn't been covered here on Western Gawi this morning, which we will do. So we will go and take a look around and see if we can find lion tracks. If you heard lion and they sounded close, let's go and look around. We've got some hyena tracks here. We'll do a good few different roads today. So far I haven't seen any. Maybe we're going to do a figure eight. We'll go up to Spam Road and then come back this way. No sign of Karula either this morning. Baboon tracks. Bets in Pennsylvania. Is it Bets or Betty? Catch up on the radio. Chatter. Betty, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, no, these guys, I don't just far by the way now.
Nothing happening at Taina then. I think because they're down in the drainage line where Seb was yesterday. And the guys probably don't know that. We talk about camp. What is camp? Do we live in tents? What is our accommodation like? And baboon fingers. And okay, well, I guess Betty wants to know what our camp is. I guess camp is not the right word. It's Vuyatela is a lodge. It's referred to as camp. You know, so often you talk about a camp, but it's got solid buildings. It's just one of those things about the bush. Going back to camp, but it's not a camp. It's actually a lodge. Yeah, we have. I've got a cabin. I guess I'm the only one that's got a cabin as such. It's a little wooden cabin. Seb, here the rhino tracks. We are going the wrong way. They went south. But still, we're going to go up to Shbum Road. We'll come round. There's quite fresh rhino activity here. That's why the road's so bumpy. They've been lying in the sand here. Here's some fresh dung. Very fresh dung, actually. You know, I'm going to change my mind about doing Shbum Road. It's quite cold inside the dung. So there were shits last night that they were here. And they could be up on Cheetah Cut Line by now, but there's more than one rhino here. Okay, so we're going to go look for rhino. They very clearly went to the south. Southeast. Hello Maya in Vancouver, Canada. Maya wants to know, does a family of giraffe have similar spot patterns, or is it all random? It's not so much random. You know, there's order in chaos, Maya. It's not so much that it's random, but at the same time, it's not that they're going to be similar. No, there will be similar patterns because we're talking about genetics. So yes, there will be similarities, but they can be so different as to appear random, if you know what I mean. They must have walked down to the water there and headed east. And this is where the rhino are more likely lying down somewhere. We'll check this road to see if they carried on southeast towards Twin Dams or whether they went down towards Elephant Skull Road. At least 3 rhino here. More. Sub-adult, young female by the looks of things with a big male. Mama. Hello, Gil in Wisconsin. I'm not too sure what the question is, if that's a statement from what I was saying earlier about the giraffe and the zebra being together, using each other as early warning systems. What is there a question though? Seb? Oh, is it usual? If I say yes, it's usual, then I suppose I can't say it's usual. It's not really. It doesn't really work that way. If giraffe and zebra are in the same place, yes, then it is usual. But it's not that usual that when you see giraffe, you're going to say, well, where are the zebra, if you know what I mean. So it is usual that when they're around together, that they will spend time in each other's company. They're not necessarily going to seek out each other's company. They have different requirements. They eat different things. They generally use different areas. Those giraffe and the zebra might be together like that. The giraffe might be going off one way and the zebra don't have any grazing where the giraffe are going. So it might just be for a moment in time. It might be for 2 days, might be for 2 hours, it might be for a week. There's no regularity to it. There's no way that you could sort of say, yes, it's usual, they always do that, because they don't. Then the next time we see giraffe, there might not be any zebra. The next time we see zebra, there might not be any giraffe. So for that very reason, I can't say yes, it's usual, because it does happen, but I wish I could find a better way to answer that question. There's a lot of hyena tracks on top of the rhino tracks here, which means that these rhino were here yesterday. That's why the dung is fairly cold. Yesterday to last night, they were lying in the road here. Lots of hyena tracks on top of them. No sign of lion. Let's go to Elephant Skull Road. The rhino. Joanne in Arkansas. Rhino went down there. Let's go this way to Twin Dams. Wait, I just heard obstacle. Zebra. What's their gestation? About 12 months. And they normally only have one foal. There might be records of twins being born, I'm not sure. Let's face it, they're mammals. Most mammals, it's possible for the egg to split, so there might have been cases of twins, I'm not sure, aware of them. This rhino might be in this big block between here and Twin Dam. Let's go down to Twin Dam and see if there are any tracks down there. Different species of herbivores will gather together when they're in the same place and capitalize on each other's strong senses. Whether one's got good hearing, one's got good eyesight, one's got height advantage. Anything that has a predator. Hyena was running here, it was a big hyena running. It's the same as the reason why we saw the wildebeest with the impala for a while, and why sometimes you see the baboon with the impala, or the impala and the nyala and the waterbuck all together. Morning. Yes. Yeah, I think so. Well, Graham's going down that way, so we'll go back the other way, down Elephant Skull. Graham coming? Let me know if there's a Kombi and Konzo down that way, please. I'm going to go around the Elephant Skull. That in Kombi, Henry. Okay, it might be the same one from Treehouse Dam then. Yvonne wanting to know about question about poaching, rhino poaching. Don't some reserves cut off the horn? Well, it has been proven to be a grave mistake. Yes, some do, and yes, in some places, in some cases, and in some places it has worked, but Yvonne, unfortunately in some places it has actually caused the death of those rhino, because the poachers went for them first so that they wouldn't waste time trying to track rhino that didn't have horn, so they would eliminate them just anyway and then cut off other parts of them to prove that they were still poaching rhino. Believe it or not, that has happened, and that does happen. But no, there's talk of doing that on a large scale to try and flood the market. I don't know how far things are going with that. And Becky, you know something about that, don't you? But no, also no, there's no details that are known. But the thought was to dehorn rhino on a large scale and try and flood the market or something. I don't know. That's also, I don't know. That's a one-off fix, and then in time it will go back to normal. But it is rather cruel cutting off a rhino's horn. Cruel in the sense that it's like declawing a cat. It's like it's barbaric. Mutilating an animal. I mean, it is like supposedly like cutting fingernails, but still, it's a weapon. It's a horn on a rhino. It's there for a reason. Okay, we're gonna move on. We want to go and follow up on these rhino. They're moving east. Henry found some tracks that might be going towards Bateleur Road. Let's head up that way. Means that we should find tracks crossing Elephant Skull. Probably down towards that rhino midden on the junction at Twin Dams Road. Suzanne. All I got was kill the cubs. I'm not too sure which animal, but there's a breakup. Maybe trying to, I suppose, the leopard cubs. Suzanne asking, here are the rhino tracks. They're in and out of this drainage line. Could be the same ones that went onto Batalier Road. We're just a little bit behind. As I say, that dung was quite cold, so it was a few hours ago at least. But these tracks with this one, Suzanne killed the cubs. If we're talking about the leopard cubs, they wouldn't hesitate if. There's the rhino. Thanks, Becky. Becky's the rhino spotter. Two of them so far. Hello, rhino. We're just talking about you guys. Watch those ears. There we go. Number 3 coming out. That's the young female that I was talking about. You can see the big males and then the young female. Let's go further. Hang on. Let's go further because they're coming out onto the road again. Oh, there's 4. Wow, I got a crash of 4. 4 Mkombi, elephant skull.
Go again, Mark. Where, Mark?
I'm on elephant skull heading east towards Twin Dams Road.
Okay, come.
Look at these magnificent animals. Absolutely incredible. So there are even more because there were other tracks going up.
Oh, there's 5.
Oh, there's 5. Here comes a huff and a puff. There
Mark,
might-
I'm on Twin Dams Road at the moment, just off of Gary Dam. Can I make my way into it?
Yeah, sure. Got 5 on Kombi.
Sorry, go again.
There's actually 5 here. Catching up.
Sorry, Mark. I copy you.
No problem. Yeah, they're slowly walking along Elephant Skull down towards Twin Dams Road. 5 of them.
Okay, copy. Excellent.
There's Floppy Ear, the one at the back here. Klevani is what we've called him. Funny, somebody said, sorry if I can't remember, but somebody sent me a picture of 8 rhino at Nkoro Cam a couple of nights ago, and I was thinking maybe it's our crash, because sometimes we've seen up to 7 of them together. These 5 with another 2. I was thinking maybe it was the same crash, but I can't be. If these guys are coming from the west heading east, must be a different crash. This is our regular crash. Now there's one has just defecated here, but there is a rhino midden just up ahead. It'll be interesting to see. Right now, the front rhino is reaching that midden as I speak. It'll be interesting to see if any of them are going to do anything here at this midden. They asked, yes. Well, here we go. Texan, do you want Mangwa and Lumeti?
No, we're going to let me turn the Mangwa cruise cup.
Okay, copy. Because there are some at the junction of Weaver's Nest and Treehouse. All of them are actually, yeah, he's actually going to start scratching a little bit. Not full territorial scraping, but some territorial behavior. But this is a very well used midden. It's funny, they probably held it in until they got here, and they're all depositing in the same place. We're going to be on Twin Dams Road now, heading up Twin Dams Road. Well, welcome to Stuart from Paddy Roberts and all of us. Welcome to Djuma Game Reserve and our live drives, live safaris, and some of our local characters. Some rhino that we see from time to time when they're in our area. Collectively, rhino known as a crash. This is our local crash. I said I heard oxpeckers when we were coming out of Twin Dams Road, rather Treehouse Dam. Thought I heard oxpeckers and it was them. What's that, Graham? Ah, okay, thanks, Graham. Some rhino ahead of me. Just suddenly got a really strong whiff of both the dung and the urine here. This is a big female at the back. Must be the mother, maybe, of Ndlevani.
From south of Cusco, I'm off.
Vivian. We're all going to go a little bit forward. Vivian wanting to know if they have the same problem at the lodge with the baboons breaking in. Yes, they do. They've had some serious problems with the baboons in the rooms at the lodge. Breaking in, taking guests' things. They've learnt to break into the minibar. They're all listening to something. They're pausing a little bit before they carry on. I wonder if they're listening to something. They might. There's a Franklin that's making a bit of an alarm call further up. Okay, sorry Seb, we were just put soft there. Hissing was a bit loud. Let me just move forward a little bit. Debbie, how far is Pete's Pond? Oh, it's hundreds of miles. I don't know exactly. I should maybe find out. But it's 300, 400 miles at least. And then I can't remember who that was from, but somebody was asking why we don't see the Gowrie gang anymore. Well, it's because they hang around the lodge, and or if they do go elsewhere, we will see them if they're around. We just haven't been able to see them because they've either been in the lodge or close to the lodge. Their tracks were out near Treehouse Dam this morning, so they've gone south for now, somewhere south. Hello, Bree. Wanting to know if we have more than one type of rhino at Djuma. Yes, we do, Bree. We don't see the other type of rhino. This is the white rhino. You can tell, for one thing, you can tell because they're quite calm and they're quite relaxed, and that there is a group of them, what we call a crash of rhino. There's a group of them. Now, the other rhino, known as the black rhino, is a solitary animal, lives in thick bush. It's a lot more skittish, a little bit aggressive at times. They tend to only live on mostly on their own, rather than in groups. But they're actually not the true names. I mean, it's too confusing for people to talk about white rhino and black rhino. This is what we call the square-lipped rhinoceros, or the grassland rhino. And they are what we call grazers. They eat grass. So they have a very much elongated head, so that their face is permanently on the ground, so that they can reach their food without any effort, eating grasses. Now, they've got a very wide and square face, very wide square mouth to be able to do so. I'm just going to pause in that discussion because we're going past another vehicle, and I don't want other people taking photographs and video, just not to disturb them. Ndlevani. Morning all. We need to go back. I think they want to come through here. We can go down that way. No, not that one. Often causing trouble, this little boy. Look at that, he's just challenging. You have to do it behind the buffalo thorn. See, their heads are behind the bush. Their horns are just touching. This young male with a floppy ear often challenges the bigger rhino. He's often getting into scrapes. Come in. Come in. Ja, in camp. Yeah, I'm sure. Tavunili mampimpa namul. Naam konzo. Oops. Use a bit of clutch next time. No, I had the mampimpan outside my room this morning.
Okay. But you don't know where they went?
Oh, they're there, but I don't know where she is.
Oh, okay.
How's that? 5 rhino, just right next to us. Wow. Okay, I can get back to the question. Hang on, Seb, hang on, Seb. Cumbia now heading up Mamba Road. They're drinking. Nothing here for them to drink. So, getting back to what I was saying earlier, sorry, there are times when we can't talk and answer questions because we're too close to the guest vehicles, and if they've got video cameras and things rolling. So it becomes difficult to talk to you when we're too close to other vehicles and guests are busy. So I was talking about the different rhino and the other rhino that we get, but we've only seen tracks and dung, and in the last 2 years there's been maybe 2 visits of black rhino or the hook-lipped rhinoceros. And, well, they are solitary and they cover much bigger areas than the white rhino. Now, Trish was asking about rhino as well, and I think Trish was asking about social structure and how it works. Hang on. Hang on, Seb, sorry. I'm just trying to copy the radio. Alright, what was, sorry, go with Trish. Oh, yes, I'm busy with that. Bateleur must be from the local nest. Bateleur flying above us. This is a little pan here, it's finally drying up, so there's not really much for them to drink here. There's mud if they wanted mud, but there's no water here. But they have been to Treehouse Dam, so they have had water. But yes, Trish, this, as I was saying, the white rhino travel in numbers. Well, travel is not the right word. They are gregarious. They do live in groups. You do find them in groups, especially areas where there are lovely open grassland areas for them to graze. It's not really a matriarchal society. Males have territories, females have home ranges, and you'll get a number of females within the territory of a male. And sometimes females and their calves will join together, and sometimes you'll get young males in subordinate males joining together. Well, you've got a group here of females and males. This is one of the females at the back here, making her way up Bumba Road. Franklin screaming. He's gonna. And I want to see what's been digging a hole here quickly. Hard to tell, but it could be a freshwater crab that's dug a hole there. Let's go up the riverbed a little bit just to see if we can see why Franklin's shouting. We'll come back to the rhino. I know Seb's saying that there are a few questions about rhino. Come back to them in a minute. But we can answer questions so long. Diane wants to know why they all poop in the same place. What was the other question of Diane? Why do they hold it? Well, I was saying that they must have been holding it. I don't know if they were, but yes, that is a midden. It is a, I guess in America, for some people who would live in America, would call it a latrine. And it's to send messages. It's like the old method of, what is a bushbuck? A bushbuck ram. And off he goes. And there's the bushbuck female. There's no leopard here. We won't go too close to her. You can just see her up the riverbed. We don't see bushbuck too often. There was a ram that we just saw. There's a young bushbuck ewe. But yes, it's a message board basically. For other rhino who would come through the area, for them to leave messages for themselves, but also for other rhino to pick up who it was and what their status is. Kind of ties in with Trish's question. There is kind of a hierarchy amongst the males. There's always a dominant male, and leaving messages like that lets everybody, if you're a rhino, lets everybody know who was here, when you were here, what your health status is, what your breeding status is, what your sex is. Okay, another great picture of a little girl bushbuck. Franklin's shouting, so I thought there might be a predator, yeah. Sorry, who was that? Pig. Rhino dung, smell like ellie dung. No, not at all. Nothing like it. rhino dung is all thing. Rhino dung is all grass. This rhino, this square-lipped rhino is all masticated grass. It's different, slightly different digestive system. And there's similarities to the smell, but it's not really. Here's a hyena. That's one of the pups, one of the cubs. Sue, hyena. Yeah, at the water.
Can I drive it?
There's another one coming down.
And another one. Maybe they've changed dens. Maybe they're back on a den nearby here. Graham's wandering around. They're all having tea just here on the left. So Sue is a very regular visitor to Juma.
They're
Yes.
much bigger than the cub.
They're other cubs, pups. They are both youngsters. They're the two. I think these are the two youngsters from the den that used to be on Mbubu Road.
They're definitely bigger than the ones.
Yeah, they are bigger than those other youngsters.
They look naughty.
Hello, babies. I don't know what they're running around looking for.
They move quite quickly.
Okay, I didn't hear that. Sorry. Yeah, the two youngsters. So Angie wanted to know. And Ryan's still not getting it. Find any cat tracks?
No.
Well, Franklin is making a bit of a noise. Okay, sorry. Now we're back on track. Where'd these rhino go? Oh, it's normal to see rhino's ribs like this. Yes, it is, Angie. That is how rhino are. That's their armor. When you think about rhino, these rhino can get up there. They are up ahead of us. Several tons of rhino. When they're fighting with that sharp horn, if they didn't have that kind of armor protection, they could pierce each other's lungs very easily. So the ribs are very broad, very much like the buffalo ribs that I showed you 2 days ago. And, well, it's also, they're quite dry, and yes, it's quite normal to see their ribs like this, Angie. I know a lot of people have commented on they look thin or they look malnourished or something because their ribs are sticking out. But those creases in the skin, that's all quite normal. Laurie, have I ever seen rhino chase and attack another animal? No, they don't do that, Laurie. I have seen, and that was probably extenuating circumstances. Somebody, it might have been Penny, I can't remember who it was, somebody sent me footage of a private reserve down in KwaZulu-Natal of a rhino and a buffalo having an argument. And I think the buffalo was eventually killed. I think even other buffalo attacked that individual buffalo afterwards as well. But this rhino was getting very aggressive with the buffalo, and I think the buffalo eventually died. But unusual in that an enclosed reserve, and perhaps in some ways behavior is altered somewhat because they can't engage in typical territorial behavior, or their natural behavior is altered somewhat because of fences and being in an enclosed area, not having proper social interactions with other members of the same species. We've seen elephant killing rhino also because of extenuating circumstances. But it wouldn't normally happen in the wild. Rhino are relatively passive, especially these rhinos. Cow with a calf is different. You don't want to be walking with a white rhino cow and her calf. She can get very defensive. But I've spent a lot of time on foot with white rhino, and as long as you quiet and you stand still, I've had them grazing right up to me once upon a time. Actually on more than one occasion, many occasions. In the Manyeleti. Tammy, why do they drop dung and then step in it? Well, Tammy, that is to walk their scent wherever they go. It's not only a reminder of where they've been and when they can remarking territory. It's maintaining their scent throughout the area that they move in. Basically to walk their scent throughout the area, throughout their home range. There's young floppy ear now. And then Tammy was saying there was some rhino in Tembe recently. Could these be the same ones? No, unfortunately not. There's this Tembe Elephant Park is I think it's even further than Pete's Pond. We need to find out actually the exact distances. But I would say that, I mean, Pete's Pond is in a different country, and it's far to the west of us. But it might actually be closer than Tembe Elephant Park, which is in the same country as us, but it's way to the southeast, and that's probably about 500 miles compared to the 300 miles to Pete's Pond. I don't even know the exact distances, but it's far. It is far. I've been looking for a map that I found in a magazine recently, in the last 2 months. I had a picture of I just want to say something on the ground. There's this picture of Africa with with other countries superimposed on it that show the size of Africa. I think a lot of people underestimate the size of Africa. The whole of China, the whole of the United States and Canada, plus Europe, plus I don't know how many other countries, Japan, I don't know how many other countries, all fit into Africa. And having such a large continent, when we have sort of a close-up of just Djuma, let's say Djuma and Pete's Pond and Tembe Elephant Park, if you had to sort of have a close-up view of southern Africa, they would appear to be fairly close, like as though they were all in Texas or something. Texas is quite big, but in fact they're actually very far apart. Got such an itchy nose. Jim in Australia, I was hoping we could try and get to see some of, because now they're grazing, they're actually going, you can see how that wide mouth of theirs is actually just very thick lips, very wide mouths that they use to pinch the grasses. We've got to eat a lot of grass. Jim from Australia is saying, what's the largest crash that I've seen, and what are there historical records of large crashes, and what are they of white or black rhino? Well, there's never going to be a large crash of black rhino, Jim. Most you'll see is maybe 2 or 3, if that. Maybe 2, mother and calf, that's it. Maybe if a bull is around, but I doubt that you'd ever see a bull with a cow and a calf. I'm not too sure. I think the largest crash I've seen is about 13 or so, or was it 17? I think it was 17 in one day with a crash of 13, if I'm not mistaken. But I don't know. It'd be interesting to find out what the largest crash on record is. Let's see if we can move up a little. I'll try and get a little bit in front of them for a change so we can see them grazing. You can see that mouth in action. I'm hoping you're watching some of the ear movements that we were talking about earlier, those little radar dishes that work independently of each other, constantly scanning for sound. As soon as I start the vehicle, a bunch of their ears turn back towards me. They recognize the sound and then they carry on listening forward. Oh shit. Hey, Mijay. That can you? That can. Kampi. Ang isti. Ano ba nanis mo po? Tabo nilim mampimpan so. Let's see if we can somehow watch them grazing a little bit. Diane. Hello, Diane. I mentioned that earlier on there were a lot of hyena tracks around the rhino tracks. There were indeed. Not that I think the two were related, but Diane was saying, would a large group of hyena be able to take down a rhino? Maybe not an adult, maybe a sub-adult. Hyena are known to take baby rhino. They're known to hound a rhino and her calf until eventually they wear them down and they're able to get the calf. I've seen that on film. I haven't seen it in real life, I'm afraid. And what are the main predators? Diane's asking, what are the main predators of rhino? Well, hyena would go for calves. I don't know. There might be records of lion taking calves. I think there might be, possibly, cases of. I think there are records perhaps of lion taking baby rhino. But no, as adults they're not supposed to have any predators. And that's how they've survived for millions of years. That's how they can look so prehistoric and then come along human beings and in a couple of generations, we're practically wiping them out. Can you imagine what other civilizations would think of us if they had to come to planet Earth and see what we do to this planet? Can you imagine what they would think of us? They would look upon us as a cancer, as a scourge, as a bacteria that is slowly rotting away the planet. If it wasn't for us and our greed and our commerce and our need, anyways, you know what I mean. There's going to be a time when there's got to be an awakening of the human being that this planet is a living, breathing organism that we have to take care of. The concept of Gaia, it's been around for thousands of years, but somehow humans just haven't cottoned onto it. And it's still, we live in this financially driven world. We only live once. We need to enjoy life more than enjoy money. This rhino that we're watching now, you can see we've seen him before. He was the one that was fighting when we had that fight at Chelapan with Shorthorn. He was the one that was fighting. He's got that horrific scar just behind his right shoulder. That's where a horn must have got him once upon a time. Goes to show how well animals heal. And just looking at the size of that scar, that would have been a pretty hefty injury. That. Any station coming to Nkombi? Okay, I'll still be with them for a couple of minutes, Henry, but they are heading south off of Mamba Road into this block. I'll have to leave a branch in the road. You know where the Torchwood is, east of the drainage, east of the Mulwati?
I know that.
Yeah, at the moment they're just grazing around it, just east. Lost picture. Okay, we're back. Not stable. Okay, let's move amongst them again. You know, since we've been back on drive since last week, we haven't spent any time with rhino. We haven't been able to find any. Today I was hoping to find them because of the weather, and we did. And because of that, I'm just going to spend time with them. Moving around. Picture's gone. Back. Back. Why are we getting signal issues? Yeah, I was just saying we're going to spend time with the rhino because we haven't since we've been back on drive since last week. Let's watch you graze. This lovely longhorn. Come and say hello to me, boy. Bring me that big head of yours. Give you a scratch behind the ear. It's huge. Hopefully with a small army of rangers and their 4.58s and 3.75s, high-powered rifles, it's a discouragement to poachers. No problem with Pictures, bad signal for some reason.
Seconds to countdown. Standing by for an R-picture. Picture's looking good. Sound is good. Stand by for the countdown. 5, 4, 3. Seconds to countdown. Standing by for an R-picture. Picture's looking good. Sound is good.
Welcome back, everybody.
Stand by for the
Having
countdown.
technical problems.
5, 4, 3.
Slightly higher ground. Almost put back into Thorntree. They're coming back to the road. I was just saying, I don't know if you got that, but We haven't seen rhinos, so I want to spend time with them, and especially now we have them coming towards us. So that's quite a beautiful shot there. Wide shot with the bush in the background, looking up towards Treehouse Dam to the east, to the west. Guys, in Combe back on Mamba Road.
Okay, copy, thanks, Mark. Yeah, I'm still more. I'm inside.
Somebody's getting really excited on the vehicle up ahead. Okay, copied. Earlier on, we were sitting with them. We were trying to get signal with you, and I sneezed, and a couple of them ran off. They got such a fright. Lorraine in Australia. Interesting question. Is it usual for rhino to be in the dam like hippo? Because a couple of nights now in Tembe, rhino have been in the dam just with their faces sticking out. They use the dam. They do wallow, yes. So I guess you could say in summer and when temperatures are up, yes, you could say it's usual. The temperatures are not that high at the moment that I would imagine that they would be there for any length of time now, but I guess maybe it's been quite warm and humid at Tembe for them to have been wallowing at night. They don't spend that much time in the water as much as hippo do. They're not that water dependent. They don't have the skin to be able to stay in the water for very long periods of time. Let me move back a little bit to try and get another glimpse of the little gap. Oh, no, there's a good question, Angela. I should have told you this earlier. Angela wanting to know the distinguishing features between the white rhino and the black rhino. Well, if we first of all, gosh, getting tongue-tied. First of all, the white rhino being a grazer, as I say, it has this elongated head so that it doesn't physically have to bend down to eat its food. So the white rhino's head is much longer and much heavier than the black rhino. The white rhino's head is always down. At rest, their faces are at their food. They don't have to, as I say, physically bend down to get their food. They just have to behave normally. And because they eat grass, they need this very wide mouth to be able to munch as much grass as possible. black rhino, of course, it's a little bit smaller than the white rhino. And they're what we call a browser. They eat leaves. And of course, this broad, wide mouth wouldn't really help them very much selecting leaves. So they've got a very pointed, hooked lip. In fact, it's almost prehensile, their upper lip. It curves over their bottom jaw, and it ends in a hook that they're able to use almost as like a tongue in selecting leaves and small branches. Now, because the black rhino, also known as the hook-lipped rhino, because it is a browser, its head is held up. The muscles and tendons in the neck keep the head up, more parallel to the body than the white rhino. There is no difference in color. If we were to see a black rhino now, it would probably be the same color, using the same type of clay, the same sand to roll in. So the overall color of the two is pretty much this grayish color, and it doesn't really have much to do with being black or white. And we are now moving into habitat that is actually very typical black rhino habitat. And it's just, I suppose, these rhino moving from one place to another, one grazing area to another. They're utilizing a lot of the grasses that they're finding along the way. But this, I wouldn't say this is typical habitat for the square-lipped rhino or the white rhino. Cloud lifting a little bit. Here comes little floppy here. Mouth full of grass. Must have. Gil wants to know how thick the skin of a rhino is. It must be quite thick. I couldn't really tell you, Gil. I must actually watch. There's a documentary. I must actually watch it. I think they dissected a rhino. I'm not sure if they did a rhino. I know they did elephant. Dissecting Giants or something. Discovery Channel. I honestly couldn't tell you how thick it is. I've never cut into a rhino. I wouldn't really be able to tell you very. I mean, I know it's thick. It's got to be very, very thick to be able to accommodate the kind of lifestyle that they live. All this monkey orange, strychnos. Not easy to follow them, but we'll see what we can do. We'll spend more time with them. David in Canberra, the largest number is 13 for black rhino. Is that so? Maybe send me a link to that, please, David. Very interesting. Can't find it. Say goodbye to them because they found a branch to put in the road for Henry. You can still maybe stay with him a bit. Steadily heading east. I don't think they're going to be that far off the road. I think they find something to as a marker. Breaking a small piece of jackleberry. It's the only thing with leaves. There's a piece of, could do a piece of bush willow. Henry, come in. Still coming to Nkombi?
I think I sent him now, so I don't think I will come now. Because I have to wait for the other thing.
Right, copy. Do you want Torchwood? Copy. Stations leaving Lockerbie and Nkombi are on the northern side of Mamba Road, still slowly heading east. Open lock. Bye children, thank you. Look after yourselves. See you later, maybe, if we're lucky. So that hopefully got through that question. To that question. I think so. Yes, Amber. Hello, Amber. Is this young Amber in the UK?
Now we are heading.
Rally driver. Or forget it. So we're not going to be able to sit in his dust. I was trying to turn around. I just had another vehicle come past us. High speed, probably heading to a leopard sighting that they've found in Torchwood. And I wanted to show you something. You see all the dust underneath these branches here, Becky? Let me get out a sec. And then look here. So fine it looks like spores from mushroom, but it's not. It's sawdust, and all these tiny little holes are a very special little beetle known as, they're worse than termites, they're known as shot hole borers. Getting this dust everywhere. There. This one is probably just, it's just the shell of a beetle. It probably died in the wood. But that's the size of the little beetles that they are. It's very pronounced. It's blowing in the wind. It's just the skeleton. It's so light. It's blowing in the wind. Can't keep it still. I don't know if I can find you a live beetle. There must be, because there's so much powder coming out of this wood. Oh, it's gone. There we go. Found a couple of little ones. Very pronounced thorax above the head that helps them to block off. Some of them have spines on the end of the abdomen, some of them have little spines on the head that they pretty much can block off the tunnel that they're burrowing, so that things can't get in and eat them. Here's another one in my hand, my other hand. Go on. They are winged and they do fly. In fact, they're one of the few things that are flying around at night at the moment. Can't twist my hand much more. You got that? All part of breaking down large living organisms into smaller living organisms, not living, smaller pieces, so that they can return to the soil as trace elements. The little fern in there, not many places where there are ferns. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that fern? It's for my niece Fern. Be at school right now. I don't think Fern's ever been able to watch the drive, but that's for Fern. Fern for Fern. Okay, let's go. Still trying to decide where to go. No, I didn't. What was Amber's question? Because I got sidetracked as usual. Ah, right. Right. Good question. Well caught there, Amber. Earlier this morning I said, oh, weather like this, I want to look for rhino. What's the weather got to do with the rhino? Well, actually, I would have thought that the rhino might be lying up somewhere in some soft sand, or just off the road in the grasses. There they are. They've moved right deeper into the bush, so we by rhino. It's quite thick in there. Trying to follow them through that would be just pushing them further in. But we've had some wonderful moments with them. Let's move on. But well, there were a couple of things. First of all, I wasn't expecting to see much game this morning with the overcast grey weather and strong wind, and the fact that we haven't seen rhino since we started as 2-minute live drive. And I thought it was just a good day to go and follow rhino tracks and try and find rhino, and well, it worked out. We found some tracks, we decided to follow them, and we found them. Let's go and nose around the area there. Nobody's up in more line track. Uncle Robert's hat that I got on today. Cattleman. A Cobra cattle. Birds. I'm just seeing a testicular now. Not too many birds flying around today. Couple of drongos. His tires are a little hard. I think we need to soften them a bit. They should do well in soft sand. Some new leaves on this bush willow. New leaves on this acacia. Jim, how many kilometers? 400. Thanks, Jim. Pete's Pond, 400 kilometers northwest of Vuyatela. Thank you, Jim. I thought it was a bit longer, further. I mean, 400 kilometers, call it 250, 280 miles maybe. Really close on those flowers. Heather's probably sleeping and Shelley's probably sleeping. Hope they're doing okay. Can't get you the scent into your hospital rooms, but there you go. Lovely blossoms of the spike thorn. If the sun were out, there'd be all sorts of little insects buzzing around those flowers. Pretty strong wind at the moment though. Oops. Sorry, Becky. Matinus is the genus. Matinus. Nyala. Couple of young males, females. So just hiding a little bit in the thick bush, staying out of the wind. Okay, let's continue. There's still Franklin shouting in this drainage line further up north. Banyala. Yeah, the leopard tracks here. I think when those rhino were in the dip, when we were looking at those bushbuck, I think that leopard had just been past here. Although the bushbuck were pretty quiet. I really think there must have been a leopard here that the Franklin is still complaining about. Franklin shouting up near Nyala Road South. Well, let's go and have a look at that then.
Yeah, please, you just in the slope, that is to stop that.
Emily. Definitely something going on down there. Emily or Hannely? Emily, I think. Oh, Hannely. Hannely. Okay, Hannely. Asking about baboon hunting. Give me a moment, please. Well, I thought I'd go down there because we can't see what's down there from either this road or from Batelier Road, but
She's up. She was going to the drainage line. She's turning back now west.
yeah. Well, we're going to go, Abel's now gone up Yola Road South, so let's go up to Batelier Road. So Hanley was asking, and I'm convinced there's a leopard here somewhere. The Franklins might still be complaining, even though it might have left here. Starting to get quite warm because so many layers on and a few breaks in the cloud bringing out nice warm sunshine. But Hanley was asking, have I ever seen baboon catch and kill an animal? Do they hunt or are they just scavengers, I think was the question. Hanley, baboon are omnivorous. They mostly eat plants, fruits, grasses, bark, berries. They do eat insects. They eat, well, they'll eat anything small really, arthropods and small vertebrates. However, there are times of the year, there are times when maybe towards the end of the dry season they're lacking in a bit of protein, that they go for bigger prey items. And I have seen, and it's probably some of the worst kills that I've ever seen, some of the hardest to witness, with baboon killing baby impala or warthog. I saw a baboon take 3 warthog once, 3 warthog piglets in the space of about 5 minutes. It was up in Selous Game Reserve in Tanzania. Get these big palm trees known as the Borassus palms, and when they die and they collapse, the more fibrous inner part of the trunk rots away first, leaving the outer shell of the palm that leaves almost like a huge pipe that can be 3 feet in diameter sometimes. And we had this trooper warthog, or rather trooper baboon once, that were threatening these warthogs, and this female warthog tried to take shelter inside one of these hollowed out palm trunks. And the children, they were fairly new kids, those piglets. Every time one of them tried to make a dash for it, the baboon would just grab them as they came out, and it was quite a harsh thing. I've seen baboon eating young gazelles, I've seen baboon eating young impala. I haven't seen it here, but I've seen it in East Africa, I've seen it in southern part of the Sabi Sand, I've seen it in Kenya. I guess there's a remote possibility that it could be, once again, could be an owl or an eagle that's disturbing the Franklin. Might even be chirping about a snake if it's got eggs on the nest. But it's a constant, somewhat irritating alarm call meant to draw attention, to try and help intimidate a predator, get a predator out of its area. Oh well, guess not. Let's see what tracks we have on the road up here. Zebra tracks going the other way, and nothing there. Okay, sure. Okay, that's TMI. Too much information. Information overload. Vivian, thank you for numbers. But yeah, I can't hold numbers in my head. Funny, I can hold phone numbers. Odd phone number. I can remember phone numbers from my childhood. I wouldn't say 30,000. I'd say 30 million, maybe. Africa, 30 million square kilometers, maybe. Not 30,000. Definitely not 30,000. Africa is roughly 30 million square kilometers. However, if you take United States, now read them to me, Seb, and I'll repeat as you're reading them. It's United States, China, Western Europe, India, Argentina, and the British Isles. The size of all of those come to about 29,800 million square kilometers. So, there you go. Argentina, USA, China, Western Europe, and the British Isles, and one other that I forgot somewhere along the line. Don't even make up the size of Africa. More rhino tracks here, by the way, and these aren't our rhinos, that are just further up. Closer. Our rhino group left just south of us on Mamba Road. There's a different group of rhino that have been here, going up towards Drakensberg Road, Drakensberg Drive. Thank you, Diane, for the information. That's interesting. Nice to know that Shirley was discharged yesterday afternoon, Friday, and actually walked to her hotel from the hospital by choice. That's good to know. It's wonderful news. Now we've got to wait for Heather to walk out of hospital. Heather's probably sleeping now. Heather might be with us on our drive this afternoon. Saturday in the bush. For those people who are living in the bush and who don't have to work today, one of those perfect weather days to just lie in bed and read. When I'm at home on leave, and I had some of this weather when I was at home on leave, it's very typical August weather. I was reading Jeffrey Deaver. I was reading a Jeffrey Deaver, another Lincoln Rhyme novel. Escapism. Get away from the world into a fantasy world of forensics and crime solving. Departure from the norm. Drakensberg Drive. We'll go down to Central Road. Back home again. Bunch of spikeborn there, all in flower. That could have only popped out in the last couple of days. There was no spikeborn flowering last week. Not like it is now. by road. Penny saying from here, whoops, this is to Pete's Pond. From here to Pond Drift, 400 something kilometers. And then from Pond Drift going up into to Botswana to Mashatu, another 500 kilometers. That's all in total about 900 kilometers by road. So it can't be only 400 in a straight line. What about Tembe, Penny? It's got to be 900 kilometers to Durban, so it's got to be pretty close to that, to Tembe Elephant Park. Big male giraffe deep in the tree line. I don't know if we'll see him. Maybe just his head. Coming this way.
Pull out for you. Confirm Job's still there with you. Yeah, is Job still there?
Lovely colour, this male. Can't really see too well. Very healthy individual.
Should be very close to the road on the northern side.
Okay, let's make our way closer to the dam. I still want to see if we can't see if any, maybe try and get some idea where to start this afternoon looking for a cat. Bye bye, Mr. G. Have a good day. Penny, thanks Penny. 717, I thought it was about 900, but 700 and, maybe it's from Timbavati, it's about 900. 717, I think, from here to Durban, and Durban still another 400, but then that's north of Durban to Tembe, 400 kilometers So maybe it's only about 400 or 500 kilometers to Tembe. You could go through the park even. You go in at Open Gate, go down through Crocodile Bridge and out again, and maybe Tembe's not so far. Let's put it this way. Both places are too far for any animals that you see on Tembe or on Pete's Pond. It's physically impossible for any animal at any one of those places to be seen here at Djuma. Birds, on the other hand, not impossible for a migrant that is making its way south to be seen at all three places. It's doable. Not likely, highly unlikely, but not impossible. Who's that? Roger. Hello, Roger. Roger. Is it birthday Roger, I wonder? Roger wants to know if I smoke a pipe when I'm reading. I seem to be the type that would smoke a pipe reading or relaxing. I'm too young to smoke a pipe. But no, I can't smoke. Smoking is terrible, bad for you. In fact, there used to be some smokers here at Wild Earth, and they could tell you how much of an non-smoker I am. I can be quite impossible. Pipe smoke, of course, not as bad as cigarette smoke. I cannot tolerate cigarette smoke, but it's not so much the concept of it. It's when I breathe it in, I want to. Yes. Anyway, it makes me ill. So pipe, no. See, the other thing is that I'm not allowed to smoke. My surgeon told me, and Heather, I don't think there's any danger of Heather smoking, but there's something in nicotine or in the tar or something that actually can cause a person to lose their kidney. Even second-hand smoke for me is bad. But my surgeon warned me about it because, I have to be honest, I was a smoker. I was a smoker up until my transplant. And when I was going through a lot of the tests, a lot of the things that Heather has been going through in the last few weeks, the stuff that I was going through before my transplant. We had to meet with the transplant team, I had to meet with the surgeon, I had to meet with the psychologist and the anaesthetist, I had to meet the whole team. And all of them told me to stop smoking. In fact, my surgeon said to me that she would not give me a kidney if I didn't stop smoking, because the chances of success of the transplant would be hindered by nicotine and tar in my body, and that my body would reject the kidney. I was just looking at what might have been a squirrel nest in that tree. Anyway, I smoked right up until the evening that I was called to hospital, believe it or not. I couldn't give up. I was the addict. I've got an addictive personality. That's why I'm addicted to nature. Anything I love, anything that I enjoy, I can get addicted to. The bush, nature, woman, vanilla yogurt, chocolate milk, honey. So I don't know. Maybe I'd put a pipe in my but no, that's just for effect. Maybe when I grow up and I'm an old man, that could be a thing to do. Maybe when I grow up and I'm an old man, sitting in a rocking chair with a book and a pipe. There's an African monarch butterfly. I saw a citrus swallowtail in my room yesterday. A lovely sunny day. No smoking. Rook verbode. Hakuna futa sigara. non-ferme. What's it? In French, Seb? Time is up. What is no smoking in French? Le pas fumé. Ne pas fumé. No female. No fumes. Ne pas fumé. Oui. So I guess it's time to call it a day. Let's get through the drainage line to the big Jackalberry on Gary Cut line. I'll say goodbye to you over there. Didn't make it back to the dam. That's okay. Everybody's going to be switching to Djuma Waterhole Cam soon anyway, if you're not going to bed. Oh, the ground is littered with tambuti flowers. But there's nothing much to see on the tambuti flower. There's one on the bonnet. I'll be able to find it for you when I close off. They are nondescript. Very interesting flowers. Collectively on the top of the tree they look pretty. Is that a flower or is it a caterpillar that looks like a flower? It was moving, but maybe it was moving because no, it was the flower moving because the bonnet's vibrating here. There's lots of flower heads from tambuti. You see, there's not much to them. What is interesting about them though is that they spiral. There's so many things in nature spiral. Yeah, the wind's blowing. They look like little caterpillars. Disguised as caterpillars, or maybe it's caterpillars disguised as tambuti flower. So I think we could say that spring's kind of knocking on our door. My name is Mark. Thanks Becky for camera work. Thanks Seb, and thank all of you for your questions. It's been a great morning, been a wonderful morning with those rhinos. Hope we can find something again later today. So join me later on. Today's our Saturday. Some of you still in Friday. Hopefully you'll join us, you'll catch up with us. We're close to home. We'll be crossing the dam wall and maybe wave to you from Djuma Waterhole Cam. From all of us here at Djuma, bye everybody. Have a lovely time. Till we see you again.
30 seconds to countdown.